Are you dying too much on Mercy? Are you the reason why you can't get those clutch wins and reses? Are you tired of the Mercy discourse on Twitter? Well, I can't help you with that, but I can teach you how to position and live as Mercy. Positioning is the space you take, and while Mercy can't hold space well by herself, she holds space through the people she supports. When figuring out how to position, consider the acronym T, which stands for Team, Enemy, and Environment. So let's discuss each part starting with Team. Team pertains to your team comp, their tendencies, and what positions they want to take. As T suggests, this will be the first thing you think of in a match as it will dictate how you will start each match. You can figure out T by establishing what goals you have as Mercy through the character select screen starting with the DPS. For example, if you have a Pharah, you're going to need a Gawk curve for almost 90% of the game, which means you may need to position close to roofs or abuse beam length to play on ground near cover to stay out of enemy sights while pocketing her. Or if you have a Widow, you may want to be in range to help her because of how vulnerable she is. And if you have a Sombra, keep yourself away from her. 6 miles minimum. This also pertains to your position within other roles. Ask yourself, how accessible is your second support if you need help? Do they have long range heals or short range? It's always a good practice to be in range of your second support as they will be the one that can help you the most when you need it, so make sure you account for their kit and playstyle. What if you need to help them? Do they need a lot of help when dived, or can they sustain themselves when they take pressure? Supports like Zen and Ana are going to need more help so they don't get put into a nursing home, so make sure you can fly to them if needed. Your second support is just as important as the DPS you are pocketing. We also can't forget our tank, and while Mercy's kit doesn't interact with tanks as much as DPS, knowing what tank cooldowns could protect you like a shield or a bubble can be vital to your survival. They may also need your help from time to time, and being able to hold a funny left click to heal your tank when your second support isn't enough can be game winning, especially when you have a low healing comp like Mercy Zen. Tanks like Ramattra and Ryan usually need more resources to make space, but let's be honest, most tanks in mid to lower ranks may need more resources, so make sure to account for that whenever you position. You want to find a spot that 1. Keeps you safe, and 2. Allows you to support multiple teammates. While you could pocket your E-boy duo in the back, unless your duo is aimbotting and can kill everyone in 2 seconds, it leaves your team vulnerable because you won't be able to help them, which could lead to more problems. These are all factors that may affect your positioning, but to start, establish your goals by finding the DPS you want to pocket and base your positioning off of them, then adjust to anything your team needs. Note that these goals can change depending on any swaps, team playstyles, or what the enemy may be doing, which leads us to our next point. Enemy pertains to, well, the enemy, and everything about them just like in T. Enemy in T mainly starts when you have your first fight and how you adapt after. Always make sure to click tab after 15 seconds in the match so you can see who you're going against and use the skills in T to know what to expect from the enemy. The enemy's not going to let you get free value and will try to kill you, so you need to have your position good enough to where they cannot reach you or it's too much of a risk to try to get you. Especially with Mercy's beam length, you can play in ways that ensures that damage coming onto your team does not accidentally hit you, so make sure to abuse this to play in safer spots so we can make Twitter mad. This section mainly tests your knowledge of the game, so if you don't know how certain characters interact with you, you are bound to throw. Some key ones I will cover are things such as not super jumping against hit scan so they can't fly swatter you, playing on high ground against Tracer because she doesn't have good vertical movement, or making sure to play out of line of sight of a TikTok DPS Moira trying to get TikTok clips. But what if there are multiple threats that demand different playstyles? I would prioritize the one that is more of a threat. For example, if they are running a Winston, I would usually prioritize vertical movement through super jumping to high ground to stay out of Winston's range, but if they had a Widow, I would find an alternate route to get to high ground or prioritize making distance horizontally from the Winston to reduce any Widow damage I could take by super jumping because she can insta-kill me if I give her the opportunity to, while Winston takes more time to kill and I can rely on my second support to help me. There are a multitude of scenarios you can think of, but at the end of the day, you have to adapt to what is giving you the most trouble. It also doesn't hurt to track certain playstyles and ults enemies have to aid in your positioning. Soldier tends to flank a lot? Make sure to account that before he engages. Zarya or Olari have ult? Make sure to not clump up together with your team. Reinhardt not using his fire strike? Expect an earth shatter coming soon. This can even be how the enemy affects other teammates, such as, if the enemy is running a dive comp and you have an immobile teammate that can be easily diveable, make sure your position can support the dive target while also not becoming one. There are many interactions I won't be mentioning for the sake of time, but one thing that can help you adapt to the enemy is how you use your environment. Finally, environment, the biggest section of T, as this goes for every map. This helps you discern between standing here or there, so let's discuss some map basics. Each map is dictated by 4 things: open space, corners, natural cover, and high ground. Open space is, well, space in the open. It is the one thing you want to avoid as much as you can on Mercy, especially because your job can be done without needing to interact with the enemy, and because open space leaves you open to many angles. That wasn't funny, stop it. Especially with how long GA cooldown can be, if you slingshot or super jump into open space, you might as well kiss the enemy, pay for their dinner, and tuck them to sleep because you're giving them a free elimination. However, there are times where your team has to cross open space due to Overwatch having objectives you need to play for. So you may ask yourself, how can I stay safe if my team has to cross dangerous territory to win games? Introducing Corners, an all-new, revolutionary place for Mercy players to stand around for only 3 payments of 30. With each part of open space, there are corners that you can use, and this will be the majority of your positions. Corners can be identified when you picture walls as L's, with the short horizontal side being the side you should stand on, and the long vertical side being open space. And with our knowledge of open space, you should know that we should avoid it, so try to avoid being on the long vertical side of every corner. This concept of corners can even be used while in the air, so every time you need to use GA to cross open space, you should aim to be at one of these corners by the time GA ends. Your positioning should be one corner back from your team, so even if the enemy pushes up, you will have enough time to reposition to a better position if needed, because at the end of the day, if I don't see the problems, they don't exist to me. But what if you have no available corners to play around? Luckily, Overwatch has cover that you can play around to help you when you don't have corners to use. Just that some cover can be easily pushed into, like the car on King's Row, so always make sure to read the situation before playing in certain covers. Make sure to use cover as much as you can in conjunction with corners to stay safe. Finally, high ground. High ground can be useful, but only if you know how to use it. The main use of high ground is to create an angle where the opponent has to look up to hit you, which creates natural cover because all you need to do is back up from the edge to be safe. However, you should be careful on some maps like Numbani that have opposing high ground the enemy can take, as that advantage is taken away because they are at the same level as you. Against dive heroes, you can use the high ground to have them jump at you, then fall off the high ground to bait them to follow, then quickly JA back to high ground, effectively wasting their cooldowns. Before I move on, there are 2 things I want to quickly mention: health packs and angles. Health packs are generally great, always good to know where each one is on every map, but just remember not to go for a health pack if it means you won't have any life paths unless you have no options. Angles are pretty simple too. Just be wary of how you place yourself when holding a corner, because a position like this that is farther away from the wall exposes you more than if you hug the wall more. Now I know I just gave you a lot of information, and to be honest, environment is the biggest portion of T and will be the one that will take the longest to learn at the start. But you'll find out that most of the good positions can be used between games and even between some team comps. A big example is Circuit Royale. Right before the checkpoint, there is a lot of open space to fight on, and one of Mercy's best spots is here hugging the left wall, as it is the corner that cuts off the line of sight from the main high ground and open space. Once you get into the minds of the open space, corners, cover, and high ground, Mercy positioning is just as easy as Doom posting on Overwatch. Now let's put it all together. In this example, I am playing with an Ashe, Widow, D.Va, and Kiriko. As we start with team, I pick out that I will be pocketing Ashe this match as she is the best damage boost target, so I will position according to her. I know that Kiriko's heals can be lackluster when she doesn't have Suzu, so I must keep D.Va in sight so I can help her if needed. Finally, the Widow can be good, just have to make sure she stays alive so she can pressure the enemy. My Ashe chooses to play up here, but she wants to play at the corner, which means I need to back up to the other high ground to keep beam connected. There is no one on the high ground in front of me, so I'm safe to hold this corner. As Doom pushes the high ground, I back up to the lower corner so I can keep beaming Ashe safely. I messed up my movement a little bit, but with the advantage, we take back high ground. Especially on Mercy, knowing the enemy team comp is important to know so you can position accordingly. I take a look at the scoreboard to see if the enemy will swap to something else. This also would be the time to assess who may have ults if the game has progressed long enough. Seeing that they have no swaps, I assess what I need to do. Knowing that the majority of the enemy is hit scans, I need to make sure that I am not caught in the air, but instead prioritize horizontal movement and cover. The enemy has started to take space, so I use the plants as cover. As I pocket Ashe, we lose Kiriko, and knowing how much I need her alive, I look to res. I should have expected her to re-peek, but I use cover to stay safe, then quickly get the res. While flying, I see that D.Va is low, so I need to position in a place where I can support her safely until Kiriko can help her. I use this high ground for a bit as I keep Ashe and D.Va up, and then I default back to plants so I can support the DPS. As I support Ashe, Doom ults, so I create distance so I can use Valk to pocket Ashe safely. Once in Valk, I'm pretty much untouchable, and as you play more Mercy, you'll be able to see more opportunities. So now you know how to position. While I know this doesn't cover every scenario you could be in, mostly because I don't want to sit here talking for hours and no one in their right mind would want to sit through a Mercy guide that long. This should give the building blocks for you to build your own skills, and once you truly understand your limits, you can start taking more risks as Mercy and creating your own playstyle. Take your time and don't be too hard on yourself. Make sure to comment down below what I should cover next on Mercy, and make sure to like and subscribe and maybe send this to a Mercy main that may need this. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!